These are the desperate scenes facing NATO troops at the perimeter of Kabul airport. A mother hands her baby to an American soldier. He takes the child over to relative safety. But these are human acts of kindness by people facing almost impossible decisions. The troops' job is to keep people from getting into the airport, except through the makeshift official routes. Warning shots and tear gas are used to try to disperse the crowd of thousands. It seems to have little effect, as what appear to be Taliban fighters among the crowd simply watch on.
This has got to stop. This is absolute madness, and both the British and the American governments are responsible. And I do not understand why they are not taking charge of this.
Former Royal Marine Pen Farthing, who founded the Nowzad animal rescue charity, has chosen to stay until he can get his Afghan staff to safety. But he's also spent the last 2 days desperately trying to get his Norwegian wife and American country manager onto evacuation flights that they had been called to.
They went to the airport. This was a couple of days ago now. And when they got there was obviously the throng of people. And so they got into it because obviously they needed to get into the airport. But it just became absolute carnage. And everybody was pressing towards the gate. The gate wasn't being opened to let people through, to release that pressure. And instead, the American soldiers on top of the actual gate started firing shots in the air, which obviously created an absolute pandemonium. And they managed to get back out to a safe house that night. And then they got back here to Nowzad late last night. We actually left very, very early this morning. And we managed to get them through before the throng of crowds actually arrived for, daylight hours. So we took a bit of a risk going in the dark, but we managed to get them through. So my wife, my country manager, and her little boy are most likely out of here now.
It's clear that even for those who have a place on a flight, getting into the airport is the biggest obstacle to leaving Afghanistan. And time is critical. No one knows how long the Taliban will allow the evacuation operation to last. There have been reports of planes leaving empty. The Defence Secretary has denied that's happened on any RAF flights. But one former senior NATO official has told Forces News the evacuation operation has to be improved.
I think one of the big challenges for NATO with its foreign ministers meeting coming up tomorrow, Friday, is to try to sort of get better coordination across the alliance, put it in the hands of NATO, put one particular person in charge.
Why do you think it needs to be a NATO evacuation effort?
That at the moment, there's a great deal of waste going on. Now, you've seen Dutch aircraft flying in. The Americans apparently were not allowing the Dutch nationals to go into the airport. And then half an hour later, that Dutch aircraft was flying out with almost nobody on board. So what NATO can do is ensure that if there's a Polish aircraft with 30 spare seats, it doesn't take off without 30 Belgians or Dutch or Lithuanians being put on board.
Amid this chaos, there is some burden sharing going on. 76 Australians were on board one recent RAF flight, and the UK says it always offers up any spare capacity to other nations. But the planes can only be filled if people can actually get to them.
Down at the airport, it is absolutely just a humanitarian disaster that is just getting worse and worse every day. And I'm sick to death now of listening to politicians from both sides of the pond say, no, it's fine, we're getting people out. They're getting people out, but only the lucky ones who are able to basically crawl their way through the throng of people and actually get themselves inside that airport.